Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to another video on ForgottenWeapons.com. I'm Ian McCollum, and I'm here today at Guns.com taking a look at some of the cool historical firearms in their inventory. And specifically today, we're looking at a Smith Wesson Chiefs Special. Which sounds like a kind of boring gun, but it's actually a very influential gun. It's been a very popular, very successful gun for Smith Wesson, and this one is no random example. This is the gun that belonged to the guy who actually named the Chiefs Special. It's a super cool story, and a really great connection to the history of this particular product for Smith & Wesson. Now, I'm doing this here at the warehouse of Guns.com, where they have a bunch of cool historical collectible firearms that are here for me to do some filming on, and they're here for you as well. If you're out looking for something cool to add to your own collection, definitely check out Guns.com. Or alternatively, if you're a dealer and you've got something rare and exotic and cool sitting on your shelf and it's just not really moving, well, check out Guns.com. Join up with them and you can market your own inventory on their site to collectors all over the country. Really, it's a cool win-win situation and a cool business model that they have going here. So definitely worth checking out. And of course, if you are retired military or active military or first responder, make sure to check out their ID.me program to get discounts for your prior service. Anyway, to talk about the Chiefs Special here, it's first, one should recognize that this is essentially an identical product to the Colt Detective Special. They're both 2-inch barreled, the classic snub-nosed revolvers. They're 38 caliber, 38 special caliber specifically. Colt came out with their Detective Special in 1927, and it became a very popular gun. And Smith & Wesson didn't have a direct competitor available for quite some time. What Smith & Wesson had was the gun they called the Terrier, which is not nearly as good a name as either Detective Special or Chief Special. The Terrier was an I-frame Smith & Wesson. It was a little bit smaller than this. It was available in either 32 or 38 caliber, but the 38 was not 38 Special, it was 38 Smith & Wesson, which is noticeably less powerful. 38 Special, when it came out, was the hot, high-powered new cartridge for revolvers like this, as well as service-size revolvers. Well, after World War II, Smith & Wesson decides that they really need to have some sort of competitor to the Detective Special. They're losing a lot of market share to Colt on it, and they finally need to fix this. So they took their I-frame Terrier 38 and basically just scaled it up a little bit. They made the frame a little bit bigger so that it could handle the pressure of 38 Special. And they named this new frame the J-frame. Now, when they first had this gun available, they actually chose to introduce it at the 1950 meeting of the International Association of Chiefs of Police in Colorado Springs, Colorado. And they, having a marketing department, they came up with the idea of, they called it the Model J, which is even a worse name than Terrier. They figured they'd have a competition, open it up to the Chiefs of Police to come up with a name for our cool new gun. And so it shouldn't actually perhaps be surprising that the name that won by vote at the convention meeting was the Chiefs Special. This is a meeting of all police chiefs. That, predictable perhaps. But the names for the competition had all been submitted from different police chiefs. And the guy who submitted the idea Chiefs Special was one Captain Edward Boyko. Now, Edward Boyko was the first-generation American. His parents were Slovakian immigrants. He was born in 1896 and lived in Passaic, New Jersey. 1916, at the age of 20, he joins the police force and is a career police officer. Come 1945, he is advanced all the way to Chief of Police of Passaic. So 1950, there he is, Chief of Police, attending the International Association of Chiefs of Police, representing Passaic, submits this name, wins, and as his prize, essentially, for coming up with the best name, Smith & Wesson gives him one of the very first production models of the Chiefs Special, factory engraved with his name. Let me show you. There you go, right there on the side, from the factory, Chief Edward Boyko. Very cool to have the factory gift you a gun engraved with your own name. Yes, and a very cool prize for a contest like this, a naming contest. Now, we are also going to have some other markings on here. 38 Smith & Wesson Special, of course, is the cartridge that it is chambered for, the hot, new, powerful cartridge for such a small, snub-nosed revolver. On the other side, we have a standard Smith & Wesson logo down there. We have Smith & Wesson up here. These are not actually marked Chiefs Special anywhere on them, but that is the name that they got. Oh, and by the way, later on, years later, Smith & Wesson would go to a numerical model system, and that's when the Chiefs Special became the Model 36. Now, the other cool thing about this gun is because it is such an early example, this is serial number 29, you can see there on the butt, it has a bunch of abnormal features that were present on the first few dozen of these that were produced. And these are features like a half-moon front sight. This would very quickly change to a serrated low front blade. It has a full-size cylinder release latch. This would very quickly change to sort of a more oblong, flat, low-profile latch, which is probably a good thing. In general, in addition to the larger frame, compared to the early I-frame Terriers, this is the gun where Smith & Wesson replaced the flat mainspring with a coil mainspring. That's inside the grip, but and these very early examples also have the same trigger guard geometry as that I-frame Terrier, which frankly apparently isn't very comfortable to shoot, and pretty quickly they would enlarge the trigger guard to give you a little bit more space, presumably just because of the recoil associated with the more powerful 38 Special instead of 38 Smith & Wesson cartridge. So a lot of cool stuff here to check out on this example. It's not just the engraving, it's not just the history, the specific personal connection. It's, there you go, by the way, we've got the serial number right there, 29 in the cylinder as well. This is one of those really cool guns that has a very specific, cool personal history to it, as well as a lot of mechanically interesting features for being such an early example of the Chiefs Special. Perhaps we're lucky that this came out in 1950 and was the Chiefs Special instead of being something like the Chiefy McSpecial face. Anyway, one of the really cool things about Boyko is he would continue to serve as Chief of Police for another 10 years. He retired in 1960. And you know what he carried after 1950 as his own personal sidearm? This. In this very well-worn little pocket, well, not pocket holster, in this very well-worn little belt holster, he took this free gun from Smith & Wesson. He didn't put it in a shelf. He didn't put it in his gun safe to keep it pristine. No, he actually carried it. You can tell from the muzzle wear. Probably didn't fire it all that much, but I think it's really cool that a gun like this, with that sort of personal connection to this particular officer, was actually a daily carry gun for at least 10 years, probably a lot more than 10 years, because he kept the gun after he retired. He eventually passed away in 1991, so age of 95, long-lived guy. And the gun is now here at guns.com because, in the perhaps the most unfortunate to me side of this story, his descendants, his grandchildren, decided that they just didn't want it, and they put it up for sale. So it'll be showing up here at some point. They don't have it listed right now because I don't think they've quite figured out exactly what they want to do with a gun with this much historical provenance to it. So we'll see what they decide to do. If you are interested in cool collectible guns, perhaps you're looking for 1911s. They have actually quite a lot of 1911s in the inventory here right now. So check it out, guns.com. Browse through their inventory. It changes every day, and they've got a lot of cool stuff in the warehouse out here. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. A really cool opportunity to take a look at the sort of one-of-a-kind piece of history that doesn't show up just every day. Thanks for watching.